the question of when kids should start to get this is a really difficult question, because I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, the answer that most people would give was, well, not until high school. There's not really any need for it in high school. Well, now if you go into any school in the United States and you go into the 6th grade and you ask how many of you have cell phones, it wouldn't surprise me a bit, because I've done it. Wouldn't be surprised me a bit if more than half the kids already do. So I think parents have to make the decision of what is the reason for the cell phone. See, the kids want it because it's cool and because everybody else has it. And so kids will say, well, if I don't have one, I'm going to die. Okay, well, no one has ever died for lack of a cell phone. So I think the parent's job is really the responsibility of, does my son or daughter need this phone? And what are going to be the upsides and the downsides? One of the things that we parents have to pay attention to is that it is much easier for us to pay attention to short-term dangers than long-term dangers. Let me relate this to cell phones. Some of the parents say, well, I want my kids to have a cell phone because I want to be able to get in touch with them if there's a problem, if there's danger. And so a recent survey shows that one of the top worries that parents have today for kids is a terrorist attack. It's one of the top 5 worries. The number 1 worry that a parent has about kids today is kidnapping. That's the number 1 worry that parents have about for their kids. Statistically, the odds of a child being kidnapped are so remote that it really doesn't pose nearly the danger that we think it does. In fact, a researcher in the UK has calculated that for a child to be snatched by a stranger, that child would need to be left on a corner alone with no supervision, on a street corner alone for no supervision, every moment of his or her waking life for 146 years. That's the level of the danger, okay? And yet, that's the top worry of parents. Well, now, why is it the top worry? Because when it does happen, and tragically, kids do get kidnapped, but when it happens, everybody in the country knows about it instantly, and we hear about it day after day after day through the media. They stoke the fear in order to boost their ratings. And so then that fear becomes, well, my biggest concern then is about my child, and they need to have this, so we can stay in touch, so they can, if they need to get a hold of me, they can. Well, kids 7, 8, 9 years old, you can always, at school, you can always get a hold of them. So I think parents need to kind of ask themselves the question, what is the use? So let's say a parent then does decide, okay, it does make sense for my son or daughter to have a cell phone. Then you have to decide what features you want on it. Do you want them to have access to the internet, unlimited access to the internet? Do you want them to have unlimited texting? And those are all individual decisions that parents need to make based on their son or daughter, and making sure that they have ground rules about it. Because this is powerful, this also has the potential to be abused. And so these are some of the new challenges that parents have to confront that didn't even exist. So we've got new words in our vocabulary: cyberbullying. 10 years ago, I don't think anybody even knew what the term cyberbullying meant. What that means, of course, is that this technology allows kids to do something. Bullying has been a problem forever. Bullying's not new. What's new is the technology. So now kids can send mean, insulting, demeaning, embarrassing messages or photos to other kids. So if they get mad at someone, they can really bully them using this technology. It's become a huge problem. And parents, oftentimes, when I talk to parents about this, they are worried about, well, what do I do if my son or daughter gets a bullying message? What should I do? And so I give them some tips, and the tips would include make sure that your son or daughter knows that if they get messages that are mean, that they let you know so that you can start to become involved in the solution. But I also tell parents you should actually be more worried that your son or daughter will become a perpetrator. Because here's what we know from research. 3 times as many kids bully as are bullied. For every one kid that's a victim of cyberbullying, there are usually multiple kids doing it. So we need to be real clear. Okay, so tips for parents. If your son or daughter has a cell phone, you need to be real clear that there is a zero tolerance policy for any cyberbullying. That if they send demeaning messages to other kids, then they're going to lose their cell phone. And it's become such a problem that I think parents need to be real clear about that, and they need to back up schools.